Hello and welcome to vlog number 5. It's been a little over 3 months since the last time we spoke, and a lot of things have changed since then. My recovery moves on at a pace. I'm not all the way there yet, but I'm certainly getting there, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But probably the most important thing out of all of it is I've caught a load of carp. Right, going back to last December, I didn't want to go fishing. It was too cold, the weather was bad. I had absolutely no idea what effect that would have on my recovering brain, and I was feeling the cold. I just didn't feel right for going fishing. And to be honest with you, I think I did totally the best thing, which was to stay indoors and concentrate on getting better. The headaches were starting to get less. The sickness was easing, and the dizziness, and I could start to concentrate on getting back into the real world. It was still very, very difficult. I had to sit around for ages. If you need any information on the Housewives of Beverly Hills, the Housewives of Dallas, I'm your man. But I'm very, very proud to say I never sat there and watched Jeremy Kyle once, and I probably never will, to be honest with you. But come January, later on in January, the urge was upon me. I needed to go fishing. The best thing I could do for my wife Lynn, who'd struggled for all those months to look after me, to get out of the house and leave her on her own for a while. And the first friend of mine that stepped up to the plate was Sean McSpadden. Unbelievably, Sean drove all the way from his Essex home to Aldershot, picked me up, drove me all the way back to a lake that was some 10 minutes from his front door. Now, very often, we want to catch carp when we go fishing, but I don't think anything could be further from my mind. Just being there sometimes is enough. A couple of weeks later, my great friend Adam Penning gave me a call and said, right, we need to go fishing. And again, Adam drove all the way over from Essex, and we drove up to a lake up near the M4 at Reading. And again, we didn't catch anything, but it was wonderful to spend a couple of days with a great friend, and I'm sure the world was a better place after we'd discussed all the problems that had come to the fore. And both of those occasions are proven facts. To me, 'tis the company, not the carp, that make the feast. It was absolutely fantastic. But after the trip with Adam, all I could think about was going fishing and catching myself a carp. And very often, in my fishing world, I'm looking far and wide for the next adventure. Willow Park came into my head. Now, with a good throwing stick and a very well air dried 18mm boilie, I could probably throw a boilie in here from my back garden, but it had never come up on the radar. A great friend of mine, Tony Smeets, who lives in Aldershot, came round one day and we started talking about it, and very, very quickly we'd organised a trip over to Willow Park. Now, there were problems for me. As I said last time, I was partially sighted in my left eye, and unfortunately that eyesight has completely deteriorated. Now I am totally blind in that eye, which is a bad thing, but in a complete twist of irony, it's a good thing. To get my driving license back, which I haven't yet, and I have no idea when I'll get it, it's better to have monocular vision in that one eye. It's overcompensated for not being sighted in my left eye, and 5 years ago I started having to wear distance glasses. I don't have to wear them anymore, which just shows how much my right eye is coping with the problems. As good as that is, it's so hard for me to gauge where I'm casting. It's such a difficult task, because to get everything in perspective. But I think you've all realised how stubborn a person I am. I soon got over that and got back into the swing of it. Mark greeted me with open arms at Willow. He's a new owner here. It was a new and exciting environment, and I just couldn't wait to get fishing. Everybody told me I needed to put a bit of bait out in the middle of the lake on maybe one of the silty spots out there, which is what I did for my first night. And the only thing that welcomed me back to my fishing was an absolute herd of tufted ducks, and I would suggest that my rigs got picked up somewhere in the region of 500 times that night. And to be honest with you, while the birds are that active, they're certainly tufties, maybe not the coots. The carp are nowhere to be seen. So I woke up in the morning, and as much as I thought I was going to be able to put my feet up and have a reasonably quiet and relaxing session, half an hour later, all my gear was on the barra and I was ready for a move. A couple of 100 metres over to my right, there was a guy in a swim, and it was very obvious he'd had 1 or 2 fish. I think it was 2 over the past 48 hours from a swim called Jason's on Willow that is in the entrance to a small bay. I knew absolutely nothing about it, but obviously people told me about it afterwards. And I went round to have a chat with the guy. He was a lovely fella. I did a photograph of the fish he'd just caught, and away he went. But the thing is, I think differently to other people, of course, and as I often suggest, bait is the secret to my success on many occasions. And I went round, there's 2 of the spots he was fishing on the far margin of this bay, the holes in the trees, and I baited up with probably 4 kilo boilies, a couple of kilo on each spot, marked up the spots, round the sticks. 8 3/4 wraps was the right hand rod, 9 3/4 on the left, and there was going to be a third rod down to my left, very, very close in under an overhanging tree, and again I baited that with about 1.5 kilos of boilies, and everything was set. The biggest part of that, and I am accused very often of being a bit of a dinosaur and a bit of a fossil and stuck in my ways. I had been trying to find an opportunity where I could try the new short chod rigs. I don't use them as a chod rig, I use them as the up section of my stiff link pop-up as we've mentioned before, but I wanted to try the short ones. They looked absolutely perfect. The hooks, of course, were absolutely sensationally sharp, and within 5 minutes of getting back, I had 2 of those stiff link pop-ups tipped with a little bit of yellow corn out there and fishing for themselves. The next thing was to put the margin rod in down to my left, which I snuck in, didn't have to cast. It was lovely and quiet, and I walked back up to my plot with my trot box in my pocket, and no sooner as I stood back in my swim, the few yards up from that rod, the box was howling in my pocket, and I caught the first carp of the year. Again, it may surprise people, but and I suppose it's something to do with my recovery. I do get a little bit emotional about things of late, and it was a very emotional moment to catch my first fish of 2018. There's always that thought that me and my family and the people in the medical world never thought I'd make it to 2018, and there I was holding a beautiful little scaly mirror for the cameras. And I'd say somewhere in the region of 20 minutes later, that rod was off again, and it was another mirror, just a beautiful looking mirror. And I don't think I've ever smiled so much when I've held a fish up for the camera. And the action kept on going on that rod as things evolved in the session. The action carried on through. Until the morning, really. Sort of every hour and a half, every 2 hours, I was getting a bite. Okay. I had this fish just before dawn, and at £20.5, it's like a new personal best of a new era in my carp fishing. Really, I can't tell you how excited I was. I've had 9 fish in all, from £2 to a little bit bigger than this one actually. That's in the retainer, and I'll show you that one next. It's been a hell of a 24 hours for me to catch 9 fish. I think I'm getting there, and that's all I'm really worried about at the moment. The icing on the cake of an 11 fish haul from Willow Park in Hampshire, 26/12 in the middle of February. It doesn't get any better than that. Over plenty of boilies, the little stiff link pop-ups, works a treat all the time. It's incredible, but it's not about how I caught it and why I caught it. It's the fact that I have. That's what makes me smile, as all 11 of those fish have done whatever their size, and just as soon as I can, I'll be back. I couldn't believe for 1 second that I'd caught 11 fish in less than 24 hours, but I had. It was incredible, and like I said, I was so tired. The rigs had worked beyond belief. The hook holds were incredible. And everything just worked. The bait application, after every fish I went back and baited those spots, made sure there was bait there. I was almost sleepwalking back to the car park. I wanted to make the escape. Mark had volunteered to come round and pick me up, but I wanted to get off the lake the proper way. Maybe I shouldn't. It made me even more tired, and I slept for 3 days when I got home, if you want to know, and yeah, I think I needed it. But I tell you what, when I woke up properly, all I wanted to do was get back here again. It may come as absolutely no surprise to you, but as soon as I'd got over being completely tired, all I could think about was getting back to Willow Park just as soon as I could. Mark, the owner, bless him, was at my door at 7:15 the following Tuesday. And I was absolutely chewing at the bit. It was like a kid at Christmas. I can't deny it. I got out of my bed at about 4:45. I'd had about 6 cups of tea and more than my normal 3 pieces of toast by the time he knocked on the door. But soon enough, I'd kissed Lynn goodbye. The gear was packed in a van, and we drove all of 2 or 3 minutes to get myself over to Willow Park. And I wanted to push my barrow on there. I wanted to behave as normally as I could. As I said, things are still ticking along with this recovery. Not quite there, but I wanted to put the effort in. The only problem with that is I never arrive at a lake ever with any preconceived ideas. I keep my mind and my eyes open. Wherever the fish tell me to be, that's where I will get to, or as near to it as I possibly can. This time around, there was only one swim I wanted to be in. It was right at the end of the lake, of course, as far away as it was possible to be. But 20 minutes later, I was pushing my barrow into Jason's swim, the swim that I'd occupied the week before. I baited up and dipped my up baits, the rigs, the short chod rigs again as the up section of my stiff link pop-ups. It's a marginal area with snags above it as well. And what I did a lot of times at those sort of distances, I'd be using a lead clip setup. But I've always found when a lead's discharged, when you're not giving a fish a lot of line on the take, they come up in the water, and the last thing I wanted to do was allow any of those fish to do that and possibly get tangled up in the branches above them. There's nothing down deep in the water. So with a 3.5 ounce lead on helicopter rig, it keeps the fish deeper down in the water if you ever need to do that. However, I went round again, probably 3 or 4 kilos over all 3 rods, and with the upbaits in position, I sat down to wait. This time I had to wait a little bit longer, as it happens, but the action kicked off about 3:30 in the afternoon. It just kept on going with a fish maybe every couple of hours or so until about 2:30 in the morning, when it stopped. And the last bite I got at that time, I have to tell you, I felt really bad, and I reeled the other rods in, and I went to sleep. But it's a wonderful feeling when you do that, when you've had 5 carp over a short period of time, and they've lit all my fires. They made me smile, and it had been a wonderful start to the session. And when I woke up in the morning, it was time to start all over again. And when I tell you, I had another 11 fish on that session. That was, 22 fish in 3 nights of my life. I don't normally fish that way, but it was absolutely the antidote I needed to not fishing for so long, and it was a wonderful reintroduction to my carp fishing. And 2018 had started off with such a bang, and it was the same situation when I got home. My friends, I don't like to ring up and show off, but I just wanted to tell everybody about it. I've written about it and put it onto Facebook and Instagram. I don't normally flood the place with pictures of me, but when you're that excited about it, it makes such a difference. And interestingly, talking about Facebook and Instagram, it's just wonderful that everybody's response to the things that I'm doing on the road to recovery has been it just takes my breath away, and it's just impossible for me to thank people enough. And hopefully they'll follow me back to full recovery, and I obviously will start chasing bigger fish around it and getting further afield once I get my driving license back, but nothing will ever feel as good as that. The trips I did shortly after on the last vlog, when I was able to stand up and remember what my own name was, they'll be the most special, but these were too. And again, obviously, I got home shaking with excitement. All I could think about was coming back the following week. As much as these sessions were completely shattering me, I felt so tired. It was, as it always is, it's the excitement that drives you on, and I really couldn't wait to get back to Willow. Arranged with Mark for him to pick me up the following week. The downside of all that is we were just about to move into a hideous period of snow and ice and freezing weather, and I'm sure that everybody who's watching this will be aware of what happened over that week period. But just before it started, again, Mark turned up at my house. We loaded up the gear, and sooner rather than later I was pushing my barrow around Willow Park once again. I wanted to set myself up, and I wanted to fish, and I wanted to fish at range, and I moved in to one of the swims on the bungalow bank. I found me a silty little area, 18 wraps out, and unusually for me, I'd invest all 3 rods on it. One of the rods, however, would become a rod that I would retrieve. I'd reel it in and cast at anything that showed. Unbelievably, nothing did over the next 24 hours, but I still put a little bit of bait out there. I spotted out maybe 2 kilos of 15 and 10 mil boilies. My 3 little short chods set up a stiff links again, of course, settled nicely over the spot. It looked absolutely perfect, but that wind got colder and colder and colder, and unfortunately my confidence started to wane. That was until my middle rod absolutely ripped off about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I had a bit of an audience, in as much as one of my best mates, Tony Smeets, had come down, and a guy who's helped me so much with my recovery, Stuart Dawes, came down as well. Stuart videoed the whole fight. Tony got some stills on his camera, and it was complete once it went into the net. I couldn't stop smiling. We didn't weigh the fish. I reckon he was somewhere between 17 and 18 pound, but I doffed my cap to him on the fighting stakes. Like my fire. Sharing those moments with people that mean so much to me made it that much more special. I didn't reel the rods in this time. I honestly didn't think there would be another bite, but my rod off about 4:05 in the morning. I remember looking at my watch just after it slipped into the net, and it was a small common, about 14-15 pound. Again, he made me smile. Why wouldn't he? But I unhooked him quickly, slipped him back into the lake. I didn't recast the rod. I left the other one out, and I went to sleep. And when I woke up at 7 o'clock and scraped the ice off the top of my 60-inch oval, I knew it was time to go home. The last thing I did before Harry and I met up today to do the filming for my vlog was I shot off with a lift, of course, from a great friend, Andy Thacker, an ex-army guy, Royal Engineers, picked me up, and Lynn, and drove us up last Saturday morning to Five Lakes to see all the people that I knew from angling publications and Carp talk was a wonderful thing. But to share my time with people, shake hands and have me photograph taken every 5 minutes, it was absolutely a wonderful day, and the first time that I've been able to stand up in public and talk about the last 6 or 7 months of my life. I actually spoke about lots of things before that as well, but that got a little bit emotional too. And again, I'm not ashamed of the fact I did that. It's been an incredible period, but the next time we speak, I think that'll be all over. We can just look forward to the future, which is exactly what I want to do. With Five Lakes, it kind of drew a line in the sand for me. There's still a way to go as far as my recovery is concerned. There's still my desperate attempts to get my driving license back to take care of. But it's been a hell of a period of my life, and it's been wonderful to share it with you, but I want to look to the future. And in saying that, there's another local complex of lakes that I'm going to get a chance to fish over the next few months. There's people that have volunteered there to pick me up and bring me home without causing too much disruptions to their lives, which I'm hugely pleased about. So the next time we meet, it will probably be from there.